Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to continue on with this week's theme of music that we're thankful for, exploring the band Holding Absence. The person requested this, saying that the emotional weight of it really moved them, and while it wasn't necessarily directly relatable to them, it did help them improve their headspace. And that it's just been an important album to them for most of their life. Let's dive into a track called Wilt and see what's going on with Holding Absence. Digging the overall bright sounds alongside these massive drums and guitar at the bottom. The synth that's just spreading out to the sides, it's a huge sound, and these smaller tones sitting in the melody.
Simply dissipate, dissolve or just decay. You're a burnt bouquet. There's nothing left for me to say.
Yeah, dude. That little moment of introspection before coming in with this belting massive vocals. Interesting, keeping the vocal intensity. Elevated, actually. Was that a post-chorus? No, that was a really short verse. We're already back into the chorus. Okay. I love the fade out on both of the ends of these choruses. No, not the end of the first one. The end of the second verse kind of did this, but it's a big sound where you kind of get the fuzzy crackling on the outside, like it's still describing a large sound sphere even though it's pushing towards silence. It should feel empty. A very cool like inverse feeling on that.
Whenever I see the tapestry, your blessed hands have wove for me the poetry, the misery. It all meant so much to me.
nice little heartfelt moment here, especially after the bombastic chorus.
And love is on my mind. You'll be the first in line.
Still having the beautiful elements alongside this massive sounds, like crashing waves.
Whenever I see the tapestry, your blessed hands evoke for me the poetry, the misery. It all meant so much to me. Just give me the part of me. Ensure these things inside of me. So maybe I can be free to love you for an
So a little bit like a canon here, but with varying deliveries. And that's interesting too, because we heard a lot of that outro. I mean, it also came after the chorus. I thought it was a bridge, but it did take us to the end. We heard it the first time, that was a bit more heartfelt, a bit more vulnerable. Then we heard the higher energy, the screamed version of it. And then we had even higher screams in a canon with that. And then as the higher screams were still going on at the end, then we got the calmer delivery that actually wrapped the song up. It almost becomes a bit of a mantra. It's those, like 4 lines, maybe 5, probably 8 lines. I don't know. It is a big chunk of lyrics. We end up hearing it like 4 or 5 times with different combinations of timbres, both from the instrumentation, which goes between lighter to heavier, back to lighter, but also with the vocal delivery. A bit of mixed head and chest, and then full, like belted, and then screamed, and then back into something a bit mixed. And the little journey of a repeated phrase, mantra style, just a repeated phrase, a repeated stanza, going through the emotions of it, the music accompanying it. I like that. It's a good way to wrap things up. Now, this song does a really great job of being beautifully heavy. Not just that it is heavy and beautiful. There's definitely some stuff we've listened to that is dreary or melancholic, but is still beautiful despite that. No, this actually has bright, optimistic, traditionally beautiful sounds in it that are played alongside these big, booming, heavy tones. There's a lot of low-end weight on parts of this track that's paired with the electric guitar, paired with, I think, even a piano at times. And then the vocals, too, are a bit narrower, lighter, very pinpoint, cutting through the thickness of these larger tones. I love this combination. This will always be something that just hits me really well. I don't know any other way to describe it than sort of a Beauty and the Beast kind of scenario, where you have these beautiful melodies on top of a gnarly or bestial, atmosphere. And it's just pairing these immense guitars and heavy drums with these lighter melodies. And I think that sounds great pretty much every time I hear it. And they certainly set the mood right from the start on this track. There's an interesting flow throughout this song too that generally increases in intensity, and it keeps the song feeling interesting from moment to moment. Verse 1 is kind of light, we ramp it up a little bit, and then we have that pensive moment in between the verse and the chorus. I really love this. We bring the energy down to a 1 so that we can come in at a 10 on the chorus, or maybe a 9 at the chorus, because I really do think we hit our 10 in the outro. But what I love about this is that you can't expect those vocals. Maybe if you know the bands, maybe if you've listened to the other tracks on the album, sure, but first time listening here, it's got a nice clean vocal. Really love that in the verse. I was not expecting those powerful belts coming in for the chorus though. Honestly, given the heaviness of the guitars and the monochromatic album art, I was really expecting it to go into maybe something extreme metal, some death metal in the chorus, going into some growls to accompany the larger instrumental focus. I was quite surprised to find that the entire song is cleans of some sort. Even those screams that we have at the end are compressed cleans. There's still vocal cord sound coming out of that section. We don't ever go into a pure fry scream in this track. So yeah, dude, the entire chorus just felt good. It surprised me, but it was a perfect escalation of energy, and I love bringing it down to a 1 because you get that little pensive moments. It feels a little vulnerable. It feels self-reflecting. What are we doing here? But then we take that and we have that massive gap between the 1 to the 9. We just ramp things up and hit the biggest point of the track up to that point. And I don't know, dude, that whole journey there, rising up, dropping down, and then peaking was just so good. And I do like how there's a softness to the vocals in the verse, that there is still a beauty. There is a positivity to the delivery in the chorus as well, but there's just a little bit of grit in there too. They're very powerful vocals where they're more, they're softer in the verse. And I like how we kind of get a little bit of the tenderness and then a little bit of the power, whatever emotion we have in here, which I do think veers into the melancholic area. I don't know what we're singing about. I did pick up a couple of lines here. I think there is some sort of relationship going on, but the song overall has a dreariness to it. Maybe a little bit of regret, sadness, sorrow, that kind of thing. Could be the end of a relationship. I don't know. We'll get into it later on. But the tenderness, the vulnerability versus the power, the extent of the emotion. It's the difference between kind of being numb and emotionally distant, and then having the melancholy crash down upon you, and all you can do is cry loudly and visibly. And I like how it captures both sides of a melancholy. Now, the second verse is interesting because we kind of start in the middle energy-wise, and then we ramp up and we kind of lean into that chorus sound. Then there's a brief moment of pensiveness, just like prior to the first chorus, and then we're in the chorus, and it was, I don't know. It feels so distant from the first verse in length, in composition, in sound, in emotion. It feels more like an extension of the chorus, which is why I actually thought it was a post-chorus. We kind of retained some of that energy and then we brought things down. And I thought when we brought things down, we were going to return back to that verse sound, but we didn't. This was just a transition back into the chorus. So, I mean, what was it? Like 4 bars, maybe tops? It was a very short-lived return to a verse. Makes me wonder why even do it at all. Maybe we'll get to the lyrics and it'll make sense there, but just listening to it musically, it doesn't really solidify why we need it. It took us 20 seconds to get back into the chorus or something like that. And I had literally, 20 seconds earlier, we just finished this. We didn't need to be back in the chorus so quickly. And it drastically alters the pacing of this. I don't necessarily want to say right here it affects the pacing negatively. I think I would need a few more listens on it to figure out how I feel about it. but it is a pacing irregularity. We had a really nice ramping up of ideas. We sat up here, we brought the ideas down, and we ramped up, we came down, we ramped up again, and then we came down, and now we're in the bridge, and it feels rapid fire there. Maybe it could be the fluctuation of the type of sadness that's being presented, that's being felt, how it's uncontrollable, how it's unexpected. I don't know. It's an interesting ride there. This takes us to the bridge, though, and the bridge becomes the outro, and I really love this for everything that I've already talked about here. We return back to the sound of the verse, kind of bring the energy down, something a bit more vulnerable, a little bit more self-reflecting, and it's just a beautiful section. We kind of get rid of the heavy weight for a moment and just focus on a beauty here. And of course, this becomes the mantra. This is repeated over and over in varying styles. It almost becomes a whirlwind of these sentences, whatever they are, rising in energy and falling in energy as we push towards the end. And it begins to feel like a whirlwind, which, if this is a song about melancholy, about sadness, and about feeling a lot of emotions at the end of something important, yeah, dude, a whirlwind of emotions makes a lot of sense. I think this song does a fantastic job of crafting an atmosphere, thoroughly exploring an emotion, and having a good set of pacing, a good roller coaster ride to go along with it. It isn't too stagnant, but it doesn't move too quickly either. I think it feels just right and carries the listener through this experience. Let me hit some lyrics on this one. It is the end of a relationship, but I think the narrator blames themselves for it. The chorus, though, it's pretty clear. It says, "Hold me now for a little bit and burn it down, get it over with. If I admit that our lives were doomed to intertwine, I'd turn back the time for your peace of mind. So hold me for a little bit, the love that we watched wilt." So there's an end of love here, but generally speaking, the end of the relationship. The bridge says, "Whenever I see the tapestry that your blessed hands had wove for me, the poetry, the misery, it all meant so much to me. So give me a lobotomy and cure these things inside of me, and maybe I can be free to love you for an eternity." I think there's two ways to read this. It could be cure the things inside of me, the depression. The relationship's over and I wish it wasn't. But it could be that they ruined the relationship. There's characteristics of theirs that just weren't conducive to keeping the relationship together. And he says, if I could cure those, then we could be together for an eternity. But I'm too flawed, or maybe flawed in just the right amount of ways for this not to work. He says, if in another life my heart is beating fine and love is on my mind, you'll be the first in line. So once again, kind of blaming himself for not allowing or not being conducive for this relationship to continue on. And a lot of this is that duality of pain, wanting this to continue, but knowing that it can't because of you, because of a facet of you. The other person just needs somebody in their life who doesn't have those characteristics, maybe even, to use a different word, those flaws. And the chorus, I like this, hold me for just a little bit and then burn it down and get it over with. This idea of just wanting to be held one last time while this is ending. Yeah, there's a lot of negativity in here. There's some numbness too, but there's also self-reflection. And there is extreme, maybe regret, but definitely pain being presented here in the lyrics and in the music. One thing I do want to point out, though, is a heavy repetition of a specific syllabic rhyme. You can see this very clearly in the bridge, but it's present throughout most of this track. And I think it creates an interesting flow through everything. It's what makes the song so palatable, so pleasant to listen to from the vocal perspective. Whenever I see the tapestry that your hands wove for me, the poetry, the misery, it meant so much to me. Give me a lobotomy to cure these things inside of me, and maybe I can be free to love you for eternity. It has one rhyme scheme, as far as I could tell, for the entirety of the bridge. But instead of getting boring, it gives it a heartbeat, it gives it a pulse, it gives it a reliability. And it ends up, I mean, there is a heavy repetition of me, the word me, not even just the rhyme me, but using the word me to rhyme with misery or tapestry. Actually, there's another one, tapestry, misery, poetry. It's the re sound. But yeah. And I don't know. I didn't notice it when I was listening, but there was something incredibly easy to digest in it. And I think it is that. It gives it a fluidity to add to the rhyme of it. But like I said, that's pretty consistent everywhere. If you look at the chorus, hold me for a little bit, burn it down, get it over with. So they kind of keep up that single rhyme. There isn't any other rhyme in the chorus other than that IT or ITH sound. It's only the verse. Came, bouquet, say, decay, bouquet, say. So yeah, once again, the verse uses an A sound, the chorus uses an I sound, and the bridge uses the E sound. Interesting way to keep the rhymes consistent while having some sort of variety through the track. These are my thoughts on Holding Absence's Wilt. What did you think of this, though? Is there anything that stood out to you? Anything that you'd like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Do you have your own take, perspective, or opinion on this? Let me know. Put all of that, as well as anything else you'd like to add, into the comments section below. Above that, in the description box, is a link for Linktree. Takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell, I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.